numbers are still far too high. And while a decrease is great, it doesn't help the family that loses their loved one. So we have to redouble our efforts and continue to recognize that one individual lost is too many. So today I'm proud to report some more good work by our state police on this issue. In July, the Kentucky State Police seized more than $9.6 million worth of drugs. This is the largest total value of drugs seized in 1 month in recent history. Everyone on Team Kentucky is safer today because of KSP's laser focus on ending this nationwide public health crisis. The same month, KSP, this same month, or last month, sorry, in July, which is the last month we have the report for, KSP also successfully executed a statewide drug operation following a 3-month investigation into suspected drug trafficking rings. All 16 posts participated. It led to 206 arrests, 490 charges, with a total value of drugs seized being about $685,000. Now, as we recognize Overdose Awareness Day, I also want to thank the first responders who work every day to save lives. The answer to how many times we should revive someone who's overdosing is every single time. That is someone's loved one. Now, that is someone's world. That is someone's father, mother, son, daughter, friend, cousin, aunt, or uncle. Every Kentuckian has a chance to save a life as well if they carry the opioid overdose reversal medication naloxone, which also goes by the brand name of Narcan. You can visit findnaloxonenowky.org to find more than 400 locations where this medicine is available locally and free of charge. You don't need a prescription, so anyone can carry this medicine with them so that you can be prepared to save a life. I've seen firsthand what it could do. When I was Attorney General, we were at a stoplight and something was happening in a car in front of us. We approached it, and a man had just overdosed. We pulled him from the car and watched him stop breathing. Uh, Emergency medical services from Lexington came and were ultimately able to revive someone that I had watched as he was dying. And from that day on, investigators in my attorney general's office all carried Narcan. It wasn't long after that that one of our investigators came across someone who had overdosed in a McDonald's parking lot, and with that Narcan was able to save that person. This is what's now available to all of our citizens, especially those who are worried about a loved one, to be able to have this ready nearby. So remember, again, the answer to how many times you should revive someone suffering from an overdose is every single time. Today, I'd like to invite Linda Squire up to tell us more about her son, Johnny, just one of thousands of Kentuckians we have lost far too early. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. On behalf of the grieving families in Kentucky who have lost precious loved ones to overdose and substance use disorder, I'd like to thank Governor Beshear and his administration for honoring those people today and for your continued support. Governor, you have been our ally and advocate for many years. Sadly, I am one of those grieving families. We lost our beloved son and brother, Jonathan, to an accidental fentanyl overdose in 2015 at the age of 25. I wish you could have known our Johnny. He was bright, talented, compassionate, and full of life. He grew up here in Kentucky, and he was on state swim teams and also was selected for the state choir. And in the Kentucky school systems, he learned to write and express himself so beautifully, especially through poetry. He had hopes and dreams for his future. But like so many thousands of others, he never got the chance to fulfill those dreams. Since Jonathan's passing, my advocacy has led me to become involved in grief support groups. One is a national group called Team Sharing for Grieving Parents. Another group is the Kentucky chapter of GRASP, which stands for Grief Recovery After a Substance Passing. We are now in our 7th year and we hold our meetings in Louisville. Because of the recognition of Overdose Awareness Day with such meaningful actions as issuing the proclamation, lowering the flags, and lighting the governor's mansion so beautifully in purple, Kentucky has led the way in overdose awareness and prevention. We are doing our part to stop the stigma, to increase opportunities for treatment and recovery, and to give hope to those that are still struggling. A few days before he passed, Johnny had an Instagram post, and this is what he wrote: "We are all in together. Helping a fellow human, friend, foe, or stranger is the most selfless act we can do in this world." In closing, I'd like to say how truly grateful I am for the opportunity to share my family's story and Johnny's story. We believe, and I know you believe also, Governor, that our loved ones mattered, and they still do. Thank you. Thank you.
Linda, I want to thank you for your incredible advocacy. For almost 10 years, you've been sharing Johnny's story. And while just about everybody in Kentucky has lost someone they love by this point, I want you to know that we know there's so much more work to be done, and we will continue until no family ever has to go through what you went through. And so today, in honor of Johnny, um, we'll declare Overdose Awareness Day for this Saturday, knowing that we'll continue to say his name, that people will continue to reflect on what a great life, while way too short. And we can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Governor, so much. We appreciate it. All families of Kentucky do.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
In honor of Johnny and everyone else that's been lost, as Linda mentioned, we'll be lowering our state flags once again on Overdose Awareness Day. We'll also be lighting the governor's mansion purple. Scripture tells us, help carry one another's burdens, and in this way you'll obey the law of Christ. I truly believe we can continue to see this decline in overdose deaths, but only if we continue to reduce the stigma, to provide more help, not to judge, but to love, and to do everything we can from the law enforcement side to the recovery side to the reentry side to help our fellow human beings, and ultimately to end to end an epidemic that started in our lifetime, and make it end in our lifetime, to not leave this to any other generation, and to make sure that, again, no family has to go through what Linda and hers has. This leads into our next announcement, because every family deserves to live a happy, healthy, fulfilling life, but too many have that taken from them, not just by the scourge of drugs and fentanyl, but also because of violent crime. That's why since day one we've done everything we can to increase access to victim services here in Kentucky. We've awarded more than $147 million in grant funding to service agencies across the Commonwealth who have provided services to more than 314,000 Kentuckians. I signed the legislation creating the Safe at Home program, which will protect residential addresses of survivors of domestic violence and other sex crimes, as well as those who reside in the same household as the victim. I also signed legislation that doubled the weekly amount available for crime victims for their lost wages. We increased the amount available for funeral expenses and have increased the overall total award available to $30,000. But we were reminded at how concerning this level of violence is by an incident that occurred just outside the courthouse in Elizabethtown just last week. So we know that there is still more to do. So today, to continue providing critical services, holding offenders accountable, and keeping Kentuckians safe, we're announcing another $14.9 million to 102 organizations and projects covering the Commonwealth's 120 counties. I think we're going to put a list of those organizations up. Some of the organizations receiving funding today include the University of Louisville. U of L has been awarded more than $108,500 to add some additional social workers, and nurse managers, and shift coordinators, as well as trained nurses to provide forensic exams for victims of domestic and intimate partner violence. Another recipient is the City of Berea with more than $64,560 to assist law enforcement response by incorporating the support of a social worker who will assist victims through the criminal justice process. Another organization that has been awarded funding is Maryhurst in the amount of $139,000 to ensure therapeutic treatment and clinical care continues to be available to young girls who are victims of child abuse. These victims require the highest level of specialized care in Kentucky, and the amazing team at Maryhurst is always there to help. We have a video message from Paula Garner, the president and CEO, about today's grant award.
Hello, I'm Paula Garner, and I am President and CEO at Maryhurst, and I'm glad to be speaking on behalf of those who have received the Victims of Crime Act funding. At Maryhurst, we provide therapeutic services to young people and families from all over the state of Kentucky who've suffered abuse, neglect, and other forms of violent crimes. And we are just one of many organizations whose work is sustained in part through these VOCA awards. This funding provides critical infrastructure at Maryhurst as we care for more than 800 individuals annually, each with special and sometimes complex needs. This year's VOCA award will go to power the technology that allows us to provide individualized services, keeping up with the pace of emerging care standards. As attention and resources rightfully expand to the realm of prevention and early intervention, the VOCA is a remembrance of those with existing histories of trauma, and I can definitely say that this is an essential resource for survivors on their path to recovery. We are grateful to the state for their ongoing commitment demonstrated through this award, and we look forward to continuing to partner in all phases of this work for the betterment of Kentucky's children and families.
The release we'll put out today will list all of the organizations. While we heard from Maryhurst today, each of these organizations is doing God's work, is being there for people after the worst trauma that is imaginable, and for everyone working at any of these organizations or others that serve victims of crime and of violent crime. Thank you for being there for your fellow human being. Thank you for living out your faith and your values. And I know when you do this type of work, you're exposed to trauma too. So make sure you take care of yourself each and every day, because we need you. And Kentuckians out there that have gone through these things, they need you. Again, thank you for your work. Today, and then moving forward in Team Kentucky updates, we're going to start highlighting some areas of state government and their good work that folks might not know about. Today, I'm going to talk about the Division of Forestry. The Division of Forestry not only does important work here in the Commonwealth, but they're helping other states right now battle wildfires. While other states can find themselves overwhelmed by wildfires, they can call on different states, and they often call on ours because of the good work that our division does. Just this year, our Kentucky Division of Forestry has sent more than 4 dozen team members and heavy equipment to 8 states. That's Oklahoma, Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, Idaho, Colorado, and Texas. We're able to do this in between our own spring and fall fire seasons when our personnel are less involved in directly fighting wildfires. These deployments to other states cost the Commonwealth nothing, and Kentucky is reimbursed for all costs associated with the deployment. The agreement is a win-win. First, we show the Team Kentucky spirit because these are all Americans that are being impacted, and we want to make sure that we can be a force multiplier, and we know that these other states will turn around and help us when needed. And in fact, many of them have after our natural disasters. In turn, we get that help again when we need it. But in the end of the day, it's about answering the call when anyone across this country needs help. For example, last November, we brought in 143 personnel from other states to assist us with the fires that occurred during that time in our Commonwealth. During that period last November, we got volunteers from Oregon, Utah, Idaho, Texas, Arkansas, Minnesota, Washington, Florida, and Pennsylvania. Our teams are truly doing heroic work. For instance, a 16-person crew assisted the state of Washington to help with its 23,000-acre Cougar Creek fire. One engine and a crew of up to 7 firefighters assisted with the Middle Fork Complex fire in Idaho. Pictured here is Rebecca Ramsey from the Division of Forestry. These voluntary and temporary assignments not only help other states fight their fires, but it also gives practical training and sharpens the skills of our own employees so that they are better equipped to fight wildfires here. I want to thank these men and women, these firefighters who give up their time, give up time with their families, give up time being at home to be across our country showing our Team Kentucky spirit. And finally, our Team Kentucky All-Star. Most people can probably guess who the All-Star is this week. On Tuesday, Brittany and I had the honor of welcoming the country music icon Dolly Parton to Kentucky as we celebrated the statewide expansion of the Imagination Library. Now, every single Kentucky child can receive one free book per month in the mail from birth to age 5. That is at no cost, thanks to Dolly's generosity, as well as the General Assembly for stepping up and helping to fund this program. Folks in all 120 counties can sign their kids up today at imaginelibrary.com. Dolly Parton is an American icon. She is a Grammy-winning singer, songwriter, musician, actress, and author. Most importantly, she's just an incredible human being. Under her leadership, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library has already delivered more than 6 million free books to Kentucky children, including Dolly's own wonderful children's book, Coat of Many Colors. Because of Dolly Parton, more than 120,000 Kentucky kids, 45% of preschoolers in this state, are currently enrolled in the Imagination Library. That's a great statistic, but it tells us we have another 55% to go. This makes it easier for families to read together and enjoy a great story, which parents and guardians love just as much as their children do after their long day working 9 to 5. Because of her extraordinary impact in our state, I made Dolly our newest Kentucky Colonel. I also proclaimed August 2024 as Dolly Parton's Imagination Library of Kentucky Month. Some of Brittany and my favorite moments was reading to our children growing up. We'd lay down and they'd like to lay beside us, and we'd put the book above our heads and read for hours at a time. I remember my kids coming home so excited about Brittany reading them the next chapter of Harry Potter or whichever book they were going through at that time. And I could see what it meant to them and how it's helped them as they grow up. Thanks to the Imagination Library, every family can have that opportunity. And to expectant parents, parents of young children, reading to your kids every day, every night is one of the most important things that you can do. Team Kentucky will always love you, Dolly. And that's why you, along with the Imagination Library staff members and volunteers, are today's Team Kentucky All-Stars. So with that, we'll turn it over. We have 2 journalists with us today, as well as one that is on the line. So we'll start with Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon to you. You were talking about some of the economic development announcements, including the one that came right of your trip to Germany. Have you got any indications yet that your trip to Asia is bearing fruit?
Yes, we've had one announcement from a company that we were with in Asia. That's the Latte Aluminum announcement. We believe there are a lot more coming. Now, we're definitely seeing, especially with foreign direct investment, some waiting and analysis on the current presidential race. Certainly think that hopefully after that race, before the end of the year, we'll see some more of these announcements. But I expect that we will see numerous announcements, more announcements still coming from Germany and Switzerland, as well as more from Asia. Of course, our Asian trip, we also were able to keep a company that was potentially looking at another location and was excited during that meeting. They announced they were staying in Kentucky. Karen Czar.
Governor, we have had in Lexington citations now handed out to those who are homeless. At least one arrest that we know of now. The caveat is we are confirming whether any other charges involved in that arrest. But that is beginning to happen now in Lexington. Your reaction?
Well, House Bill 5, which was passed in this last session, had some parts that I agreed with. I mean, we'll no longer auction murder weapons to the highest bidder. The gun used to kill my friend a year and a half ago. Would not have been, thankfully, would not have been auctioned otherwise because it was seized by a federal agency. But just knowing what that was going to feel like, worrying about it, anticipating it is something that no one will have to go through again. Certainly the carjacking statute that, while already being prosecuted, that crime under the names of other crimes, is going to help us track that. But certainly the way that it treats homelessness is concerning. Under Kentucky law right now, an abandoned car is treated better than a car with a person in it. And when you look at the new DOJ report on mental health services in Louisville, a lot of what it claims are requirements under the American with Disabilities Act run counter to the law and to what we're seeing. I believe that homelessness is a huge challenge, and there's no one answer, because you have homelessness that's been created by one financial disaster or hit from people that are really trying, but hit hard times. That's one area with different tools that we should deal with it. You have others that are driven by severe mental illness, and those are very, again, different situations. There's a difference between being homeless and committing a serious crime and just being homeless. And so my hope is that both the way that we enforce this, but how we will look at our laws in the future, will start with a little more empathy, a little more compassion, and at least an acknowledgement of how complex some of these challenges are. And the answer isn't just to make something a crime. It's to really look at the different parts and pieces and try to do everything we can to be as effective as we can, for each and every individual. Certainly, drug treatment and recovery services needed for a number of people experiencing homelessness. No one has the full answer, but people are still out there trying, and we need to support those efforts and do everything we can to connect those that we can help into the right programs that can help them. We got Alex Akisto from the Herald Leader on the line.
Hi, Governor. This morning, the Louisville Democratic Party barred Representative Daniel Grossberg from going to their events or meetings until an ethics investigation into his conduct ends. We've reported on some of that conduct, which includes multiple allegations of sexual harassment. You previously called those allegations very concerning. Are you evaluating whether or not to call on him to resign, or is there more information you're waiting on to making that call, before making that call? Why or why not? Thanks.
Well, these allegations are very concerning and have only become more concerning as more allegations have come forward. Everybody deserves to be free of harassment of any kind, and every workplace should be professional. I hope Representative Grossberg is giving serious thought and having discussions with family members about whether a public office is the best or most appropriate place for him to be at this time. Certainly, we're watching and looking at those allegations very carefully, and no one should be subjected to the type of conduct that's contained in those allegations. All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining us for this week's Team Kentucky update. Unless Crystal corrects me, we'll be back next week, next Thursday at the same time. Thank you. Good job.